supportive tonight. You don't need to do more. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to fix what didn't go perfectly today. Positive, because now is the time to let go. Now is the time to sink into peace. Now is the time to remember you are safe. Take a breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Again. In, out. Feel your body. Notice how it speaks to you without words. It's tired. Not broken. Not weak. Just ready. Ready to let go. Ready to trust the silence. Ready to rest. You are not your thoughts. You are not your stress. You are not the noise of the day. You are awareness. And awareness can choose to release, to soften, to fall into calm. Calm. Whatever happened today, it's done. Whatever comes tomorrow, it's not your job now. Your only job is to be here. Now, fully. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to have trust that life is guiding you, that your body knows what to do. Positive. That rest is not laziness, rest is wisdom. So tonight, give yourself permission to feel peace, to allow quiet, to receive the gift of deep rest. You are enough. Even when you're still, especially when you're still, fall asleep relaxed, sensitive. Fall asleep trusting. Fall asleep knowing you are held, you are loved, and all is well. Good night. Positive. You don't need to fix the day before you rest. That's one of the biggest lies we're conditioned to believe. Positive. That until everything is perfect, until the to-do list is cleared, until every problem is solved and every message is answered. Positive. We can't relax. But life doesn't work that way. Life is never fully done. There will always be more to do, more to think about, more to organize. And if you keep chasing the idea that rest must be earned by perfection, you'll never rest at all. Letting go of the day is an act of trust. Trust that even if you didn't do everything, you did enough. That your effort was sincere. That your being is not defined by output. The sun rises and sets without you needing to interfere. The tide comes in and goes out, isn't in a rush, yet everything gets done. So why do we believe that our value is tied to how much we carry on our shoulders? There's a deep strength in release, not in giving up, but in letting go of judgment, letting go of control. Letting go of the idea that you are somehow behind in life. The truth is, right now, in this moment, positive, you are exactly where you are meant to be. Every breath you took today, every step, every decision, even the ones you're unsure about, they brought you here. And here is enough. Positive, letting go of the day means not clinging to what you can't change, not replaying that one conversation in your head, not rewriting the day in your imagination. It happened the way it happened. There may be things you'll improve tomorrow. There may be lessons in today's events. But now is not the time for analysis. Now is the time for gentleness. Your mind may try to hold on. It may spin thoughts and worries in loops, telling you, wait, just think about this one more time. But you don't have to follow that voice. You can observe it. You can thank it for trying to protect you. And then you can choose differently. You can choose stillness, positive. You can choose the courage to let the thoughts pass without chasing them. There is no requirement that says you must mentally sort through every part of your day before you're allowed to sleep. That pressure is self-imposed. It comes from old patterns, maybe cultural, maybe personal, maybe from childhood. But you are allowed to put those down now. You are allowed to close the chapter, even if it doesn't feel finished. Sleep is not a reward for completion. It's a necessity for clarity, strength, and healing. When you let go of the day, positive, you make space for renewal. You create room inside your nervous system to soften. You tell your inner world, We're safe now. You stop resisting what already is and surrender to what's next. Peace, quiet rest. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough to give yourself what you need to, not just what others need, not just what your responsibilities demand you. You've carried enough today. The thoughts will be there tomorrow if they really matter. The decisions will still be waiting. But your body, your heart, they're asking for something different right now. Positive. They're not asking for more effort. They're asking for release, for you to trust that it's okay to set it all down. Not forever, just for now. Your body knows when it's time to rest, even when your mind resists it. That quiet heaviness in your limbs, the slow pull in your chest, the subtle yawn that sneaks in when the world quiets down. These are not signs of weakness or laziness. They're signals. Gentle messages from your system telling you that it's time to pause, time to soften, time to return to balance. And yet, we've been conditioned to override those signals. We push through fatigue. We ignore tension. We caffeinate exhaustion and call it discipline. But the truth is, ignoring the body's need for rest is not strength. It's disconnection. Positive. There is an ancient wisdom built into your physical being. It doesn't need a clock or a calendar to tell you when enough is enough. It doesn't measure your worth in how late you stay up or how much you squeeze into a day. It simply responds to life honestly. When your nervous system starts to slow, when your breath begins to deepen naturally, positive. When your eyelids feel heavy, not out of boredom, but because the body is drawing inward, that is the wisdom calling you back home. This wisdom is not loud. It doesn't shout. It whispers. And if you're too busy or too distracted, you might miss it. Positive. That's why stillness matters. Because in stillness, you can hear what the body has been trying to say all along. It's okay to stop now. The body isn't a machine to be driven to the edge. It's a living, positive, breathing organism that thrives in rhythm, not in constant acceleration. It knows when to act and when to recover. It knows when to hold and when to release. Fatigue is not failure. It's feedback. When you feel tired, it doesn't mean you're behind. It means you're alive. It means your energy has been spent, your attention has been offered, your day has been lived. And now something different is needed. Sleep is not an interruption to productivity. It's the foundation of it. Positive. Without rest, focus fades. Emotions lose stability. Creativity dries up. But when the body is honored, when its signals are respected, positive, everything begins to realign. There's a softness that comes with listening to your body. It's not passive. It's powerful. Because it takes real strength to stop in a world that glorifies constant motion. It takes inner trust to say, I don't need to keep pushing right now. I can listen instead. That moment of listening, of tuning in, das Boost Positive is what brings the nervous system back into balance. It's what helps the mind loosen its grip and the heart open just a little more. Positive. Think about how often we override the body's natural rhythm, staying up late to finish one more thing. Ignoring hunger or thirst because we're too busy. Telling ourselves we'll rest later, even though later rarely comes. That's not honoring the body. It's postponing our own well-being. But the truth is, rest isn't optional. It's essential. Die-est, bewusst positive. It's as important as breath, as important as movement, as important as connection. When you allow yourself to follow the body's lead, something shifts. Sleep becomes more than just something you do. It becomes something you receive. A gift, a return. A moment where the body repairs, recalibrates, restores. And That process starts the moment you decide to listen. The moment you stop forcing and start allowing. Because your body already knows. It's been guiding you the whole time. Keep positive. Waiting for you to trust it again, you are not your thoughts. That's one of the most freeing truths you can ever realize. Positive. Because if you were your thoughts, you'd be stuck in every doubt, every fear, every anxious prediction your mind ever created. And we both know your mind is busy. It's constantly moving, analyzing, worrying, planning, repeating. But just because a thought appears in your mind doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it belongs to you. It doesn't mean it defines who you are. Your mind is a tool, a brilliant one. It helps you solve problems, process experiences, positive, and navigate the world. But a tool is not the master. A hammer doesn't get to decide what kind of house is built. In the same way, positive, your thoughts don't get to define your identity unless you hand them that power. Most people spend their lives reacting to a thought as if it were a command. But you are not here to obey every internal voice. Positive, you are here to note it, admits it, and decide for yourself what is worth believing. There are voices in your mind that are echoes, not of truth, but of conditioning. Words you heard as a child, judgments society passed on you, fears picked up along the way, and yet they sound so familiar, so loud, so real. Positive, but you are the awareness that hears the thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. You are the sky. The thoughts are just passing clouds. Some stay a while. Some come and go, but none of them are permanent, and none of them are you. At night, these thoughts often get louder. The day goes quiet, the world slows down, and suddenly your mind seizes the opportunity to speak. It brings up everything left unfinished, positive. Every doubt you try to ignore, every memory that makes you uncomfortable, positive. But just because the mind speaks doesn't mean you need to follow. You can choose to observe without engaging. You can sit back and let the thoughts move like a river while you stay rooted on the shore. This doesn't mean you suppress your thoughts. It means you don't become them. You allow them to arise, but you don't identify with them. You don't mistake the story for the self. You might have a thought that says, I'm not doing enough, or I should have handled that better. But the presence that hears that thought is wise enough to say, that's just a thought. It doesn't mean it's true. This space, this separation between you and your thoughts, is where freedom begins. The more you practice noticing your thoughts without attaching to them, the quieter the mind becomes. Becomes not because you're forcing silence, positive, but because you're no longer fueling the noise. Thoughts need your attention to stay alive. Without it, they fade. And what's left in their place is peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from everything going perfectly, positive, but the peace that comes from knowing you are not ruled by your inner commentary. This shift in awareness changes how you sleep. Because if you believe you are your thoughts, you'll lie in bed trying to solve them. Trying to fix every problem before you rest, positive. But if you know you're the witness, you don't need to solve anything. You can let the thoughts run their course without being pulled in, positive. You become the comm center, even when the mind is busy around you. Knowing that you are not your thoughts brings power back to you. Positive. You no longer have to fight your mind or silence it. You just remember who you are, the presence behind the thoughts. Positive, the awareness that can choose which thoughts to believe and which ones to release. Rest is power. Not weakness, not indulgence, not laziness, real power. The kind of power that sustains you, that sharpens your mind, that keeps your spirit grounded and your body strong. Bewusst positive. In a world that rewards nonstop action and glorifies exhaustion, it's easy to forget this. You're praised for pushing through, for ignoring fatigue, for doing it all. But power isn't in how long you can run yourself down. True power is knowing when to stop. When to say, I've given enough for now. When to honor the limits of your energy with respect, not shame. We're not machines. We're human beings with rhythm cycles, emotions, and needs. And one of those needs is rest, not just sleep, but intentional, conscious restoration. The kind of rest that isn't just about closing your eyes, but about releasing the grip you've had on the day. Rest that softens your nervous system, that clears the mental fog, that realigns your priorities from survival to presence. That's not laziness. That's leadership of the self. The world around you is built on cycles. The seasons shift. The tides move. The moon waxes and wanes. Even the earth itself rotates into night. Everything in nature knows when to rest. It doesn't fight the pause. It trusts it. But somewhere along the way, we were taught to ignore that rhythm. We were taught to keep going even when the body whispers on off. We were told that our worth is tied to how busy we are, how much we can carry positive, how tired we're willing to become. But the most powerful thing you can do is reclaim your right to rest unapologetically. Because rest doesn't take from your strength. It restores it. It brings clarity where there was confusion. It brings patience where there was reactivity. It brings compassion where there was judgment. Ist das bewusst positive? Rest doesn't slow you down in the long run. It makes sure you don't burn out before you reach where you're going. Positive. It refuels you for the next step, the next decision, the next moment that requires your full attention and energy. The body doesn't lie. When it's tired, it tells you. The problem is we've learned to override those signals. We drink more coffee, scroll endlessly. Keep ourselves stimulated so we don't have to feel the tiredness fully. But that avoidance comes with a cost. The longer you ignore rest, the louder the body will speak, first through fatigue, then through tension, then through illness, burnout, or emotional numbness. Positive. But it doesn't have to get to that point. You can choose rest before it becomes urgent. You can choose it as an act of strength, not as a last resort. In the quiet of rest, you reconnect with yourself. You notice what's been buried under all the doing. Maybe it's a feeling you haven't acknowledged. Maybe it's a dream you've been too busy to remember. Positive. Maybe it's simply the peace of hearing your own breath again. Positive. That reconnection isn't a distraction from life. It's the foundation of living it well. And the clearer you are within yourself, the more intentional your actions become. You're no longer reacting out of pressure or exhaustion. You're responding from a place of centered power. Bewusst positive. Rest gives you back your presence. And presence is the birthplace of all real power. When you are present, you're not overwhelmed by the past or anxious about the future. You're grounded in the now. You make better decisions. You speak with more kindness. You work with more focus. You love with more depth. All of that begins with honoring your need to pause, trustive to recover, to simply be. Trust in life's flow is not always easy, especially when things feel uncertain or out of control. But it's in those very moments. When plans fall apart, when answers don't come, when the mind wants to grip tighter, that trusting becomes the most powerful choice you can make. Life doesn't unfold in a straight line. It moves in waves. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes chaotic, and sometimes peacefully still. And yet, beneath all of it, positive. There's a deeper current carrying you. even when you can't see where it's leading. That current is the flow of life itself, and it is wiser than your fears. Control feels safe. It gives the illusion that if you plan everything perfectly, positive, you can protect yourself from discomfort or failure. But no amount of control can prevent the unknown. And the more you try to micromanage every outcome, the more tension you create inside. You begin to believe that it's your job to hold everything together, to anticipate every problem, to prevent every mistake, to always be one step ahead. But that kind of control is exhausting. It robs you of peace. It turns rest into a struggle because the mind never lets go. Trust, on the other hand, invites surrender. Not the kind of surrender that gives up, but the kind that lets go of the need to always know. Trust says, I don't have to have all the answers right now. Trust says, even when things don't make sense, they are still unfolding in a way that will serve me in time. Trust is not passive, positive. It's a deep inner posture, and that allows you to move with life instead of against it. And when you begin to trust the flow even a little, your whole body responds. The tension in your chest begins to ease. Your breath softens. Your thoughts become less frantic. You stop bracing for what might go wrong and begin to open to what might go right. You don't need to understand everything to trust. In fact, trust often grows most in the spaces where you don't understand, where things didn't turn out how you planned, where you had to let go of something you loved or walk through uncertainty without a map. Those moments are not proof that life is unfair. They are invitations to step into a deeper relationship with it. Positive. That one where you stop demanding constant clarity and cultivating inner stability. This flow of life doesn't follow your calendar. It doesn't rush to match your deadlines. It works in divine timing, quiet, unseen, yet always moving. Positive. And just like a river doesn't need your help to keep flowing, life doesn't need your constant effort to unfold. Your job isn't to force it. Your job is to align with it, to listen, to respond when the time is right, to pause when you're called to pause, to rest when the rhythm slows, and trust that while you're resting, while you're still positive, something deeper is still working on your behalf. There are seasons for pushing forward and seasons for letting go. There are times when things come together easily and times when everything feels stuck. But neither state is permanent. Everything shifts, everything moves. And when you learn to trust that movement, you stop needing every step to be perfect. You allow detours. You accept pauses. You even welcome silence, knowing that silence isn't absence, it's space. Space for clarity, space for healing, space for something new to enter. Trusting the flow doesn't mean you never take action. It means you stop acting out of fear and start moving from a place of grounded awareness. You learn to recognize the difference between forcing and flowing. Forcing comes with resistance. Flowing comes with ease. One contracts the body, the other opens it. And in that openness, you find rest, not because everything is finished, but because you no longer need to control what comes next. You are enough, even when still, not because of what you did today or didn't do, positive, not because of how productive you were or how many goals you achieved. You are enough simply because you exist, because you are here, breathing, living being. In stillness, your value doesn't decrease. In fact, it becomes more visible. In the quiet, in the pause, positive, in the gentle space between doing and being, your true essence has room to rise to the surface. Positive. It's easy to tie your sense of worth to action. From a young age, we're rewarded for what we accomplish, what we complete, what we produce. We get praised for effort, for performance, for business. And somewhere along the way, the message settles in being still isn't enough. Doing nothing means you're falling behind. Resting makes you lazy. But those are not truths. They are beliefs built on fear, built on systems that forget our humanity. Because the truth is, your worth isn't earned. It's remembered. And it becomes clear the moment you stop running from silence. Stillness is not the absence of life. It's the presence of life without distraction. When you're still, you're not withdrawing from life. You're finally meeting it without filters. No performance, no defense, no agenda. Just you. Present, honest, whole. And that version of you, the one who exists in quiet, in calm, in softness, that version is just as worthy as the one who speaks, works, builds, and gives. Positive. You don't become more valuable when you're doing more. You are valuable at your core. The fear around stillness often comes from the stories we carry. Stories that say, if I stop, I lose momentum. Or, if I'm not always achieving, I'm failing. These stories run deep. They're rooted in comparison, in pressure, in the idea that life is a race. But it's not a race, it's a rhythm. And every rhythm includes pauses, rests, silences. If music never had a single pause, it would become noise. The stillness between the notes is what gives the song its meaning. Positive. Your life is no different. You don't need to prove your value in every moment. You don't need to constantly explain why you deserve rest. You don't need to feel guilty for doing nothing. Stillness is not selfish. It's not lazy. It's sacred. Positive. It's where you return to yourself. It's where you let go of the masks and the pressure and simply exist. And in that existence, there is fullness. There is truth. There is enough. The most profound connection with yourself often happens in the quiet. When the outside world fades and there's nothing left to you meet the part of you that never needed validation in the first place. The part of you that's calm, aware, at peace. And the more often you connect with that part, the more you begin to trust that you are whole as you are. Not perfect. Not finished. But whole. Stillness isn't about checking out of life. It's about checking in. It's about creating space to breathe deeply, to feel fully, to listen inwardly. Positive. It's where your nervous system resets, where your emotions settle, where your intuition speaks. When you allow yourself to be still without judgment, you're telling yourself the deepest truth: I am worthy of peace. I am worthy of ease. I am worthy of just being. Even when you're not creating, fixing, or giving, you still matter. Even when you take a step back, you are not less. In stillness, you reconnect with the part of you that was never lost, just overlooked beneath the noise of doing. Die erste Bean ist das bewusste Positive. And the more you honor that place, the more you begin to see that you're enough. Ness was never in question. It's been within you all along. So tonight, give yourself permission to rest fully, gently, completely. Let go of what you thought you had to finish. Lay down the need to be more, do more, prove more. Trust that this stillness is not a pause in your life, but a vital part of it. You trust that by simply being, you are enough. Let the day fade. Let your breath slow. Let your body soften into peace. You are safe now. You are held. Fall asleep relaxed. Fall asleep knowing you are whole. You are worthy. And all is well